Close the door. If it is open right now, get up and close it, and then come back because I will wait for you. And if you cannot close it, if there are people in the house, and no door available to you tonight, then put something in your ears, and let that be the door. Chosen one, this is not for atmosphere. There is a category of thing that physically cannot be said to a person who has one ear pointed at a hallway. And what I have for you today is entirely inside that category. And now I have to tell you something that is going to sound wrong for about 90 seconds. You've never been by yourself. Not a business. I don't mean company. I don't mean the presence of God. I'm talking about something much stranger and more specific than those two. Think about the last time you worked on something by yourself in a room that wasn't full of people. Now, carefully remember that time because someone was there. You were giving details. You were giving a reason. As you acted out a conversation with a certain person, you looked at their face the whole time. Or you were getting ready to answer a question that no one had asked you yet. That's not being alone. That's a practice with an audience that you can't see. It's something you've been doing for so long that you no longer think of it as anything else. That is, something I want you to sit down with. In your adult life, every important choice you've made has been made with other people present. Not really, but structurally. At every one of them, there was a committee present. Of course, you've never had a clear sound of your own vote, because it was cast in a room with other votes being counted at the same time. That being said, let me tell you what's really inside you. You think all three voices are yours, even though there are only two. The first one is a defense. Its only job is to guess how other people will react, and most of the time it talks about things that haven't happened yet. They will if I do this. She will do it if I say so. It moves quickly. It flows well. It sounds like good sense. It has never been right about the future, because no one has been. You don't own the second one at all. It was put in place. It has words that you would never pick. It talks to you in the second person most of the time, and says only a few things over and over again with full confidence. If you stay still for 11 seconds, you can find out who owns it. Most people are shocked at how clearly they can hear whose voice it is when they finally do. And there is a third one under both of them. It's not noisy. It's not long. It doesn't defend itself or explain itself, which is why the other two drown it. It talks about the present. There are things like, not this one. It's time, and that's not true. You know it's the chosen one. Every time you didn't listen to that third voice, it was right. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site, you are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give, and it will be given to you. is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today, join our community, and see what God brings back into your life. If you look back over your life right now, you will see that it has always been true. That alone should have made it the most important thing in your mind years ago. Okay, so here's what today is really about. It's not more information. There's already one sign for you. There were so many signs that they would have filled a book. But you still asked for one more. The problem has never been not having enough help. You've never been in a room that was quiet enough, had the door shut long enough, and was empty enough for you to hear yourself agree with what you already know. That's what the next hour is for. You will get 3 things before this ends. The first one is getting it. You will learn the unique sound of all 3 voices so well that you will be able to tell which one is talking in just 2 or 3 words. That's not a figure of speech or a test of your personality. You will learn how to do it tonight. The second will make you feel instead of think. One sentence that you thought months ago, and said to yourself in your head for about 2 seconds, but have never said out loud to another person. I'm going to take you back into the room, so you can hear this message again at a certain point. And it won't go away this time. The third one is a tool. 4 steps that take less than 3 minutes, and can be done every night for the rest of your life. Its only goal is to let you hear the third voice when you want to, not when you happen to hear it. Before we start, I want one more thing to be in the room with us. When someone can clearly hear that third voice, they change into a certain thing. It wasn't picked. You are the chosen one. This is what you turn into. That is the word I will hold on to until the end of this message. Because if I said it now, you'd take it as compliment, but by the end, you'll take it as a job description. First, though, let me give you something, because you shouldn't have to wait for a stranger to prove their worth before getting something. Let me tell you something you've felt for years, but never said anything about. You're really tired, and sleep won't help. And I want to be careful because being tired can have many real causes, and I'm not ignoring any of them. However, I want to point out one type in particular, and you will know right away if it is yours. It's the tired feeling that comes after normal socializing. There won't be any arguments or tough conversations. An absolutely wonderful 40 minutes with people you like. Once you're in the car, you feel like something inside you goes dead. You sit there for a minute before turning the key. That's what most people say when they're asked why, and for some, that's really the whole story. It has nothing to do with how much stimulation you can handle, though, and it works in a different way to cause a symptom that is very similar. This is half of it now. When the full version comes out, I'll be able to give it to you properly. That level of flatness is what it costs to run a second person. You learned early on that being read correctly cost a lot of money. You might have had to keep an eye on someone's mood to stay safe. You may have been the kid who could tell what kind of night it would be just by hearing a car door. You became very good at figuring out what other people wanted you to be. No matter what it was, you made a copy of yourself that could do it whenever someone asked. That copy is not a fake. It's one of the most high-tech things you have. It looks lovely, it works well. It's really nice of you. It has kept you safe your whole life. It does cost money to run though. It runs on electricity all the time. You're not tired of the people after running it for 40 minutes. You're worn out from the machine. Now comes the important part. That copy doesn't have the third voice. Not structurally possible. Its attention is always on the outside because that's where it belongs. The third voice, on the other hand, can only pick up on attention that is turned inward. As long as it's running, it won't just take your mind off that voice. You are not physically able to receive it. Because of this, the message you are hearing today says not to go be alone. Close the door. Because the door lets that version know it's not working. I want to write down this moment because it's important to do so. Put 2 words below this message, if you know what I'm talking about, and could tell what I was talking about before I finished the sentence. Write door closed, not as a wish but as a report. The door was shut. Then come back, because I need to teach you how to tell the difference between the 3 voices next. How to tell them apart. And I'm going to start with the symptom, because you can check it out for yourself before I go on to explain anything else. Think about what you want. What you want to do about the problem in your life that hasn't been solved in months, not what you should do. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history, it is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. It was either one of 2 things. There were either no answers at all, or a blank where an answer should have been, or all 4 answers came at once, and they were all wrong, so you couldn't tell which one to believe. They are both the same problem, but they look different. Several things have been said to you about it. That you can't decide. That you still don't know enough about yourself. You have been telling yourself for years that you need to sit with it longer. And all it has done is make things more confusing. None of those things are taking place. It looks like 3 sources are talking into one channel, and there's no way to label the inputs. You're not unable to hear. It's that nothing is signed when it arrives. So here are the signatures. This is the most useful thing I'm going to say today, and I want you to learn it, not just nod your head. They are what I call the 3 signatures. There are 3 things that the first voice of defense always shows. It talks about a possible future. In that case, it always talks about something that hasn't happened, and it does so with full confidence and great detail. He will shut down for a week if I tell him, in 5 years I'll wish I hadn't left. People will be able to see right through me if I try that. It's very long. That's the second chalk mark. The defense uses a lot of words because it's building a case, and cases need arguments. It also makes you feel something, which is the third and most reliable marker. It makes the chest, jaw, and top of the stomach feel tight. When you talk, your body narrows in a way that gets you ready to defend a point of view. The markers for the second voice, the one that was passed down, are very different. It talks about someone else. You do this all the time. It's going to make you look bad. You should already know better. Keep in mind that your own thoughts about yourself shouldn't come from the second person. When they do, it's because you're listening to a recording of someone who used to talk to you that way. Its words are not the same as yours. It uses words that you don't use anywhere else in your life. Rude, ungrateful, dramatic, selfish, and silly. There is a person that goes with each of those words. You already know which one. And it makes heat instead of tightening. Shame feels good. It goes up. The face and back of the neck are touched. That way, you can tell which one is talking before you even hear the words. The third one comes next. It's short, almost always less than 6 words. That is almost diagnostic on its own, since neither of the other two can be short. It talks about what is happening now, not what will happen or what you always do. What isn't this one? It's time. He's not telling the truth. This is the one. It never disagrees and always says the same thing. When people finally get it, this is the part that breaks them. The third voice only speaks once. And the silence that follows doesn't mean that you agree with what comes next. It said what it had to say. It doesn't match up. It also has a different physical signature than the other two. It doesn't get tighter or warmer, instead, it drops. There is a slight shift in the middle of you, about half an inch. It is not overt. Once you know where to look for it, it's easy to spot. It's also very hard to fake, which is why it's the fairest instrument you have. Now that you have these, read the last 10 years again. Think about the biggest choice you wish you hadn't made. What voice did it? You and I both already know. It was long. It was, of course, there was a lot of sense. There were several options, and your chest tightened the whole time you were making your choice. And you thought that the tightening meant how important the decision was instead of the voice making it being signed. Now, think of a time when you did something that no one could understand but was a good idea. It wasn't long. It was based on almost no reasoning at all. People who asked could not understand. You found yourself saying, "I just knew." This is what people say when the third voice speaks, and there is no argument to report, because you have never been unable to hear the chosen one. It sounds like you've been getting your information from the wrong source. Now I'll say how much that costs. Because it's huge and no one adds it up. The defense made every choice based on fear, which had its own language. It looks like being smart. It has a reason for it. And when something goes wrong, you don't blame it because it made sense at the time. You then blame yourself for not seeing something you couldn't have seen. The inherited voice always makes choices made by someone who isn't there, and sometimes that someone is dead. Take a moment to think about that. There are decisions in your life that were made by someone who has been dead for years, and has no idea what's going on. And every time you ignored the third voice, it wasn't because you were rebelling. There was a reason you did it. Because the other two were longer and louder. And a 6-word sentence that doesn't make a case won't win a debate. No one was ever going to agree with it. That's all it says. That's it for tonight. It's free and only takes 11 seconds. Bring up what hasn't been solved. Say the question out loud in a full sentence like a real question. After that, do nothing. There will be 2 answers soon. They will both be long. Write them down as you see them. The first one is a conditional future. That's the defense. That one is written in the second person. Also, the word inherited is used, which I would never use. And this is who has it. After that, wait. Most of the time, 11 seconds is enough. There will be a lot of time between each second. There will be a half-inch drop somewhere in the middle of your body when the third one comes in under the short present tense. That's it. That's the whole thing. You're not calling anything to you. You're waiting for 2 loud things to finish talking. so that the quiet thing can be heard. In the real world, this is exactly what happens when you close a door. When you do it right the first time, you'll notice something. You already knew what the third voice says. It always does. We already knew this. For a very long time it has said the same thing. Before we go any further, I want to hold something up in front of you. It belongs here, not at the end. Over the last few decades, scientists have learned something about the mind that almost no one in the spiritual world has ever heard. It also has a direct effect on the third voice, not because it goes against anything holy, but because it came from a direction we are not looking at. A small group of neuroscientists, building on a discovery that was so important it won the Nobel Prize, wrote down something about the physical design of the mind that explains something that spiritually sensitive people talk about all the time, but can't explain. It's not a way of life. It is built up. For the third voice to become words, it has to go through a certain channel. I'm going to tell you straight out what they found before this ends. Hold on to one question for now while we go on. If shutting the door stops the first two voices, why is the third one still so quiet even when the room is dead quiet? Of course, those are not the same problems. One is interference, and the other is a channel that is too small. You have been through both. Hold on to that. We're going to talk about it again, because you need to understand something else first. If you don't, the practice I just gave you will only work for 4 days. You have a side that you only show when someone is watching. I already talked about it and called it an operator. But I want to be much more specific now, because this is the most expensive building in your life, and almost no one ever checks it. It's not a mask. Lying people wear masks, but this is not one of those. You are about to enter your divine future, but remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary, where we discuss the Word daily and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." On this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall, share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit our community now, join the family, and see your heavens open. It looks more like an interface. It went live early. It was made to make you readable and acceptable to the people in charge where you were. It does a great job at what it does. It's warm, it has the power. When someone dies, it knows what to say. It's good for people. Also, they're not wrong. I want to give it a name. Because it needs a name. The people in the room. This is how you know it has been making choices for you, instead of just managing your interactions. The first sign is that you can't answer a direct question about what you want. When someone asks you where you want to eat, what you want to do for your birthday, and whether you'd rather stay or go, you leave a blank and quickly look at what the other person would like. You've never seen that scan happen so fast. It feels like it doesn't have a preference to you. You want something. You just can't get to it before the interface answers for you. The second sign is happiness when plans are cancelled. There is a type of arrangement where you get a message saying it's not working, and something inside you unwinds. You feel bad about unwinding, so you notice it, and then bury it right away. That joy is information. The interface is being told to shut down. The most expensive sign is the third one. A quiet voice was telling you no when you said yes to important things. And you didn't feel like you were taking over, because the interface spoke up before the third voice finished making a word. Not a lie, but it's faster. This is the part I want you to have the most. You shouldn't try to take apart the audience self because you can't. Every time someone tries to destroy it, someone rude steps up and calls it authenticity, which is not freedom. It's just a different kind of show with fewer people there. Take away its power to sign things is what you can do. That's the whole move. Let it take care of the interactions. It does them better than you do. But it will never sign off on another important decision. To make sure of that, every important choice has to be made in a room where no one is working. Which is exactly what a closed door does. That's what the instruction in this message really means. Chosen one. Go to your room and shut the door. This is not a call to be alone or a mood. It is a statement about jurisdiction. The choice is made in a court where the interface does not have standing instead of the one where it does. Also, pay attention to how many important events in the holy texts happen in this way. It is explained clearly that before praying, you should go into a room and close the door. Before the wrestling that changed a man's name, he had sent everyone he loved across the river and stayed behind by himself. They spent 40 days in the middle of nowhere. When one man came at night, when no one else could see him, he had the most important conversation in the whole text about being born again. That's not style at all. There is a practical reason why some things can only be done without anyone seeing. You now understand what it is. When witnesses turn on the interface, it can't receive anything. Let me tell you the uncomfortable truth about this. Some of the things that are making you confused are not what you thought they were. It's a matter of jurisdiction. You have been asking for clarity in places where it is physically impossible for it to come. If there was silence, you would know that no one was answering. The question was asked in a room with other people, and the answer has never been heard. I'm going to grade this because it's good enough to grade. If the audience self comes to mind, if you remember saying, yes, when something inside you was saying, no, then write 4 words below this message. Write it down, but don't sign it. That's not a wish for the future. In other words, it says who will be in charge from now on. Right now I'm going to give you a word, because the one you've been using has changed a lot over the last few years. The word for wilderness in the oldest language used in the Bible is midbar. It is also made up of the same 3 consonants as the verb, speak. Dava of words and speech. That which is said, the wild. And the word all come from the same root. In other words, the place of desolation and the place of speaking are not 2 different ideas that happen to show up together in the story in the language. It was first written. In terms of language, they are in the same area. The wilderness is the place where people talk. Picked one. Think about that as you go through the last few years of your life. Because I want to talk about what that stretch has looked like. And I don't want to add any decorations. People left, but not in big ways most of the time. You and the other person didn't do anything to make the friendship go away. You used to be a part of a group that kept getting together. But you stopped hearing about it. During a tough month, someone you were counting on didn't show up, and you never said anything about it. Instead, something changed permanently. You have less space in some rooms now. It got really hard to have conversations that you used to be able to hold for hours. It's not because the people changed, but because you could not keep up with the interface for that long. A sense of stillness has been present in your life for a long time, which you have taken as proof that something is wrong with you. This is what I want to put next to that. There are two things that look the same on the outside, but are actually very different. The first is being alone. Isolation cuts people off. It tastes bitter and makes you feel smaller. The reliable sign of isolation is that it makes people dislike each other. If the quiet in your life has made you less friendly, more dismissive, or quicker to write someone off, that's isolation. You need to deal with it, and I'm not going to make it spiritual for you. The second is being apart. Separation is taking something away from noise to achieve a goal, and its reliable marker is very different. It makes people feel compassion instead of disdain. Strangers move you more, not less. Things that didn't make you cry 5 years ago make you cry now. At the same time, you have less relationships and more compassion. And that mix has been making you feel confused for a while now, because you can't figure out how to be both lonely and soft at the same time. Picked. You have not been left behind if that's what's been going on. You have been moved to the spot where people speak. This one will be called the cleared room. From the inside, a life that has been deliberately turned down, so that something very quiet can finally be heard, looks like a room that has been cleared. When someone leaves, it feels like a loss because, from the inside, clearing out a room and leaving it empty are the same thing. You can only tell the difference when something talks. This is the most useful mistake in the whole text, so I'm going to tell you about a boy who got it wrong. He was young and sleeping in a church at night. His name was called, and he did what anyone else would do. He stood up and went to the old man he worked for, because that was the only person in his world who could call him that. It wasn't him. He was told to go back to bed. It took place again. He got up and went back to the same man. Again it wasn't him. 3 times. 3 times, the boy thought he heard something true from the wrong person. He thought it came from the authority he had grown up with, and was taught to obey. The old man then did the right thing and told him the truth. That's not me. Lay down again, and if it rings again, answer it right away. Pay close attention to all of the conditions. It was evening. He was on the ground. No one else was awake. His act wasn't going on. The interface had no job to do at all. That's the only place he could have heard it. And even then, it took 3 tries before the mistake was fixed. You've done this so many times, chosen one, that I can't keep track. You gave the truth to the wrong person when it came to you. You called it stress. You said it was a whim. You said you were just feeling emotional, which is usually someone else's words and not yours. Following that, you asked for a sign, because you didn't know you already had one. Let me take you somewhere for a little while. Imagine a night in the future, about a year from now. The scene is not exciting. You are sitting in a normal place when something important comes up and needs to be decided. Pay attention to what you do. You don't call 3 people. You don't write down anything. You get up, close the door to a room, and stay there for about 4 minutes. And when you come out, you're sure, not loud about it. A person is certain about something if they have heard it first and not because they have talked themselves into it. The decision is not clear to anyone else. You're not as scared by that now as you would have been 3 years ago, because you're not looking for a second signature on something that has already been signed. Take a deep breath before we come back. That version of you is not a better version of yourself. Someone who learned to recognize a voice. That's a skill, and you can learn skills. Don't forget that you're still here. A lot of people aren't. About 11 minutes ago, most people opened the door because someone needed something. You didn't. That's not a little thing. Also, it's not a mistake. This is the third spot I want you to mark. This one is also unique. There was something said by the third voice not long ago. It was short and took place in the present. It felt like there was a small drop in the middle of your body. Just leave that sentence as it is in the comments section below this message. Don't change it or explain it in any way. Then write 3 words. Write "I heard it." Do not clean it up. Don't make it sound smarter. What it said was only useful because it was so clear. This is the most important thing I'm going to say today. So please hold on to the question I asked you to ask. If shutting the door stops the first 2 voices, why is the third one still so quiet, even when the room is dead quiet? Because the issues are not the same. I would have given you half a key and called it a key, if I had stopped at the first one. So let me explain the second problem in detail. You'll know what it is in 10 seconds, because it's the most frustrating thing you've ever felt inside. You can't say what you know. You can't say that to other people. You can't tell yourself that. Right now there is something in your mind about a certain situation that is clear as a feeling, but not at all helpful as a sentence. Its shape can be felt. It feels like it's going somewhere. If someone gave you the wrong version, you would turn it down right away, which shows you know the right one, but still can't put it into words. That's not being vague. If you are vague, it means you don't know. You know that what you have is a bad translation. Sincere people can get stuck in the most demoralizing loop when they sit down to get clarity, only to find that the clarity is already there and won't change. After an hour, they get up thinking they didn't get anything. Several things have been said to you about this. That you should write in your journal more. That you need to sit down longer. That the answer will come when you're ready for it. Which makes your character wait, and gives you nothing to work with. None of those things are taking place. One of the strangest and most important things ever found about the mind is happening right now. Your mind isn't just one thing. It has 2 parts. But they were made to work together. A body of research on this was so important that it won the Nobel Prize in the early 1980s. Somebody named Dr. Roger Sperry was in charge of the project. Furthermore, it was found in a lab setting, rather than a religious one, that the 2 halves of the human mind have very different functions, and that the quality of life depends on how well those 2 halves communicate with each other. That's the whole answer to your question. The half that has language is not where the third voice comes from. Read it again. On one side knowing comes. On the other, words live. In other words, every time the quiet voice speaks, what it says needs to be crossed out before it can be put together as a sentence. The drop in your body happens as soon as you get there. The sentence comes after the crossing, and it doesn't happen by itself. At that point, the 2 halves must be in sync with each other. Knowing and language both work together when they are in sync. You can say what you feel in the same breath. Insight comes as a whole, not as a pressure that can't be read. When they're not, you get exactly what you want. A body that acts before you know what's going on. Surety without any words. 20 years of, I just have a feeling about this and can't say what that feeling is. Picked. The third voice hasn't been quiet. It has been coming in loud and clear on a side of you that can't talk. I need to name this. The split-up house. A house that is split doesn't fall very far. There is silence as two floors can't hear each other fall. The person inside wonders why they know things they can't use. Now comes the part that stopped me the first time I saw it. Studies that test how creative young children are have found that almost all of them, some 98%, are working at a level that the researchers would call genius, not gift. By their own standards, genius level. When the same test is done on adults, the result is less than 1 in 1,000. That's not a story about falling apart. The decline happens slowly and in parts. That story is about turning something off. I'm not going to give you a bad guy either, because there isn't one. The two halves are trained to run separately, by almost every part of modern life. From how we are taught to how we are entertained, to the size of the apartment we live in. You get good at the part that counts, argues, and defends, which is the same part that makes voice number one. The part that senses and integrates is also cut off. This is the only place voice number 3 has ever lived. Language is directly linked to the defense. In less than a second, it can make 400 words that flow smoothly. The voice that was passed down is a recording, and by definition, recordings play back in language. Both of your loud voices come from living in the country. It's not the one that's always been right. It has been trying to get in touch with you through a narrow channel for all of your adult life. That fight isn't fair. That fight has never been fair. It also refers to the kid who knew things about people before they were told. Who was sure about how their life would go even though they had no proof. Who told people not to be rude when they said blunt, true things at dinner tables. Not naive. Everything there was running at full speed. Since then, it has been running at half power. Sit with what that takes away. When you didn't trust your own judgment, because you couldn't explain it. You were seeing a narrowed channel as a signal that wasn't there. Nobody was being unreasonable when they asked you to explain why you didn't trust someone, and you couldn't. You just gave up because you didn't have a good reason. Fluency had more votes than you did. And every time someone told you to pray more or think about it more, they were telling you to put more effort through a channel that was already full. You can want something your whole life, and still not be able to force it through a valve that is only half open. Chosen one. You are not a person who doesn't have any direction. You are someone whose advice hasn't been able to be put into words. Here is a free thing you can do tonight that gets around the issue instead of solving it. Just like before, ask the question out loud in a full sentence. But this time, don't wait for language at all. Ask one thing instead. If this had a direction, which way does it point? Move your hand. Pay attention to which way your body leans, or just notice whether the feeling of it moves forward or backward. Don't call it anything, just find the way. There are routes all around the crossing. The side that knows has direction. That is, it doesn't need to be translated to get there. After that, you should only ask what needs to be true for it to point that way. That is a question about language. That way. The language half will have something real to work with. Most people find that this way of getting information is more useful in 90 seconds than trying to get the quiet voice to write a paragraph for a year. Now take a deep breath, because that was a lot. I wanted to end on a calm note, because I have noticed something about people who spend their whole lives being what other people need. And it fits here. Nobody ever asks them a real question with a due date. They make a short version of themselves and give it to other people. After a while, the long version is erased, even for them. That's not being cold. That filing system was made by someone who would never be asked to do it again. Also, before the last part, I want to tell you the truth about myself because I won't stand back and ask you to get close. What's going on with you? There is something going on in your family this year that I don't know about. I also don't know who the second voice belongs to. Some people will say they know something like that about a stranger, but I'm not one of them. Something I have is an old pattern that has worked so well for me that I keep giving it to people. Why do I say that? Because of something that has been sitting in some of you since the 4th minute. There is no doubt about it. Skeptics have already left. This is what sounds like what's here instead. What if I don't understand what you say? What if I shut the door, think I hear something, and then find out it was just me talking to myself? Picked. That question needs a direct answer, so I'll give it one. You've been wrong already. That's how things stand right now. For years now, you've been following voice 1 and voice 2, and calling it discernment. You're not afraid of a risk that will happen in the future. This is how things are set up now. The third voice is also safer than you think because of something it does. It doesn't push. It only says one thing and then stops. Anything that puts pressure on you, gets worse, makes threats, or keeps happening over and over with more force is not it. Urgency is a sign of the defense by definition. The calm one has never been in a hurry because it doesn't want to win. The test isn't, am I sure? What is the tone? That's the test. You know the tone well enough to check now. One more room is there. This starts. Someone will come after you, but what they will get from you is not your teaching. Which voice you listen to is what they watch you do. That person will teach them how to make a committee. If they grow up next to someone who does that. If they grow up next to someone who goes into a room, shuts the door, and comes back out calmly without giving a reason, they will build a room. Think about how that person would feel if they were 40 and knew something without having to ask 4 other people. That's not something you will teach them. They will take it in if they are close. Here is the tool. You can do these 4 steps in less than 3 minutes every night for the rest of your life. Don't just listen to me describe it, do it with me now. Close something first. A door if you have one eye or both, and say in silence, "Now is not a time to talk to anyone." It's important to say that sentence, because the interface doesn't stop by itself. Second, say the question out loud in a normal voice as a full sentence. Out loud is important. It's different to think about a question than to speak it out loud, and the spoken question gets an answer. Third, let the first 2 answers come in and write them down as they come in. Yes, that is a conditional future. That's the second person defense. And it uses a word I would never use. That was passed down from parent to child and belongs to a certain person. Do not fight with either of them. It's enough to label. A named voice loses its power right away. Fourth, don't look for words. Instead, wait and watch for the drop, about ½ an inch in the middle of you. Hold your attention right there for 3 breaths when it comes. Then say the short present tense sentence out loud once. The whole thing is that last step. Anyone can just sit there and be quiet. The drop is proof that something arrived, and saying it out loud is what turns it into language, so that it will still be there tomorrow. That is now yours. The best part is that it doesn't cost anything and works whether you believe it will or not. Also, I want to mark this one because it's the most important. Put the short sentence in the comments below this message exactly as it was sent, and write 4 words next to it. Write, "I receive what is mine. I haven't really called you yet. I've been saying, chosen one, for 40 minutes, and it's correct and a common phrase." There's a better word for what someone is when they can call on the third voice whenever they want. It's the word I gave you at the beginning. I'd wait until the very end. It's still in my hands. We are close though. That when you hear it, it will explain something about your life that has never been named. Before that, let's use simple language. There are no pictures. What do you know now that you didn't know an hour ago? You can tell the difference between the 3 voices by the way they sound, the person they sound like, and the way they make you feel. It's important to remember that the audience self is an interface, not a mask. It should keep interacting and never sign a decision again. The quiet in your life lately is a room that's been cleared out, not a breakup. Either way, you can tell the difference. Whether it made you softer or harder. Do these things with it. Close something. Say it out loud. Put names on the first 2. When the drop comes, speak up. And this is who you are in the middle of it all. You're not someone who is waiting for direction. You are someone who has been getting it over and over again through a channel that couldn't put it into words. The clarity you just got is real. But being clear has never made a channel wider on its own. There is one more piece, and it is the one that came from the lab. Do you still remember the question I told you to think about? Why does the third voice sound so weak, even when the room is quiet? I told you the answer. We talked about how it came from a lab, and how it won the Nobel Prize. This is the rest of it. And this is why I waited until now. You can only use a solution if you fully understand the issue it attempts to resolve. You now know what the shape is. And in 1981, Dr. Roger Sperry won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for his work that proved something that almost no one in the spiritual community has ever heard. The left and right sides of our brains are designed to work together. It's also not a rare peak, or something that some people are born with. It's the condition of the design. If it were a normal Tuesday, that's what the equipment would be doing. Researchers who worked with Dr. Sperry found that, when a person is in the synchronized state, they can do things that they can't do when they are in the divided state. Language and knowing work together. What can be felt can be said. It becomes easier to say what you know when you have an answer. They also made notes about the other way around. Almost all young children are at that level of synchronized creativity. Not even 1 in 1,000 adults still does. The speed, noise, and broken pieces of modern life slowly pull the 2 halves apart over years, so you can't point to a single moment. It's not a spiritual failure to do that. That's just how your body works. It means that someone took something from you, at a level you were never allowed to reach. And you've spent your whole adult life, saying sorry for what happened. Before I go on, let me tell you about 2 people. A woman from California talked about how her life was before all of this. A nurse who had tried all the healthy habits her community suggested, like prayer, writing in a journal, and just sitting still in the morning. But she kept ending up in the same place. She thought what they said. She couldn't get a sense of what was really going on. It wasn't in her body or the way her days were going. She said something got better after about 10 days. And the best way she could explain it was like a blocked channel opened up all of a sudden. It wasn't because she worked harder, the receiver had been fixed. A man from Texas talked about something nearby. Someone who had spent years keeping things together for other people while their own life fell apart. He said that prayer felt like talking to a wall. He said that when he woke up after 2 weeks, his mind was running on everything it was made to run on. So much fog had been around that he stopped noticing it as fog. Now it wasn't there. That's because of what neuroscientists in New York, led by Dr. Daniel Barron, worked on for years. It took more than an hour of a clinical whole brain activation protocol, which is used in certain medical settings, to get the two halves of the brain to work together again. They cut it down to an 8-minute targeted audio sequence by compressing and fine-tuning it for a long time. Headphones on, eyes closed for 8 minutes. That's all that's needed physically. The smart switch is what they call it. It's not an app for meditation, and it's not music that's meant to make you feel good. The Genius Switch is a specific sound sequence that was created based on that Nobel Prize research to connect the two hemispheres and get your brain working the way it did when you were a child. And if you've tried other audio in this area and been let down, Dr. Barron talks about that right away. The things that are sold here are mostly aimed at a small part of the picture. He and his team used a multi-layer protocol developed over years of clinical testing to make what they made work to synchronize the two sides of the brain at the whole brain level. Different mechanism, different type of outcome. Let me say something straight out. Not everyone can use the Genius Switch. This is for the chosen one who just realized they've been led all along and never knew how to put it into words. Who has always been honest. Who has gone into rooms with doors shut and come out with chest pain and no sentence. And who is ready to stop calling a narrowed channel a lack of faith and start thinking of it as something with a specific address. Most people who hear this will move on. They have come to terms with the smaller version of their mind being permanent. At the 40th minute, you are still sitting behind a closed door. That isn't a mistake. Coworkers who looked it over told Dr. Barron that it would have been a great deal at $500, and they weren't being nice. Neurofeedback in person costs around $300 an hour. A house unit costs about $7,000. Don't think it came out at $500, $200 or $100. It cost $49 to buy. On the page where it can be bought, there is also an extra 10 off, making the price $39. There are 4 things that are free. A guided visualization from one of the most popular calm and sleep creators on the platform. A grocery list of 10 common foods that make you feel foggy-headed, along with tips that will save most families over $100 a month. A classic work from more than 100 years ago that talks about the inner conditions that bring about provision. Plus a printable list of the 5 habits that will help you build the future you want. All of it comes with a money-back guarantee that doesn't matter what. Listen 80 times. If it doesn't work for you like it has for more than 18,000 other people, you can get your money back in full, no questions asked. You also keep the 4 extras. The only reason I'm willing to give you is this, and it has nothing to do with business. You have already been told what to do. It was given to you a while ago. And you're carrying it with you right now as a pressure that you can't describe. That doesn't change whether you act tonight or not. You can't say the thing you know for a certain amount of time. The room you close the door on either gives you a sentence or another year of silence that you mistake for absence. One thing that needs to be named. You can find tracks on the big music stores, if you look for anything with a name that sounds like the track. They were looked at by Dr. Barron and his team. Most of them don't have any of the technology underneath them at all. It doesn't cost anything to give an audio file a name. The mechanism is what makes the difference, and it's only in one place. The link is only in the description below this message, and the pinned comment, if your spirit agrees with what has been said. Before you decide anything, read the whole page. It's all laid out, and now the next thing that needs to be said. The tool doesn't stand in for God. It doesn't take the place of obedience. And it doesn't let you out of the door. What is being said over your life has never been dependent on anything else. But a wider channel makes what is already being said fit better in the space it was meant for. That is all there is to it. That's all it's ever been. We are now going back to the deeper part of this message. For the person who felt something move, when the narrow channel was talked about, the door stays open below this message. It's only one step. Small steps taken by someone who can finally say what they know have, however, changed whole seasons. I'm not going to talk about it again. The things that are left belong to something else. You came all this way behind a closed door, where no one could see you. A lot of people didn't. Around the 11th minute, most people opened it because they needed something, and didn't think it was important enough to keep safe. You kept it safe, no one knows you did it. All of what we've talked about tonight points to that being the type of thing that matters. But I have one thing I want to say last. It's something I said in the first few minutes. It's a word. And before I say it, something needs to happen, because this kind of word can't be taken by someone who is still talking to a committee. So let's end the same way we began. Just think about how many times you already knew. Just to see it, not to feel bad about it. The relationship that you knew about for 8 months, before you told anyone about it. When you walked into the room, something told you to leave, but you stayed for 2 more years. Everyone else thought the other person wasn't telling the truth, but you knew they were. You were right, but you never got to say it. There was nothing naive or wrong about you. 2 voices with language, and 1 voice without language beat you in the vote. Now, I want you to write down something that is not a circumstance. You've had that sentence with you since you were a child. Someone else needs to say this is true before I believe it. That sentence is the door that has been left open for years. That's why the room was never really empty, which is not true. It was never true. It's nice to have confirmation from time to time, but it's never been what made something real. Let it go. Not the people you know. Let the sentence fall to the ground, and feel how your chest changes when there is no one else in the room but you. Listen to this and let it sink in. You're not lost. You've been getting messages all the time on a channel that couldn't talk. You are not unsure what to do. You lost a vote in your own house to voices that were not yours. You're not by yourself. You are no longer together. And separation is what takes place in the speaking area. And the speaking place is where you've been living for years without knowing what the name of it was. You don't need to hear anything. You have the word, and starting tonight, you have a place to hear it. During that sentence, if something in you rose, don't let it stay quiet. Type 4 words in the space below this message. Write, I am not alone. If a person's face came to mind during my speech, someone who has been asking everyone what they should do for as long as you have, send this to that person. That's not a favor for me. That's the only way it can get to the right person. That's how it is. It's sealed and done. Just one more thing, and I'll let you go. The path is in the description and the pinned comment. If your spirit told you something earlier about the channel you've been trying to hear through, it will still be there tomorrow morning when the room is bright and you can think more clearly. Read the page. Make your choice from a quiet place behind a closed door, away from everyone else. That is the only way I would ever let someone choose. Now the word I told you at the beginning. There is a name for someone who can call on that third voice whenever they want. You are that chosen one, and this is what you become. It's here. You can see things. Not in the way that word is used these days. The older sense of it. It doesn't mean someone who can see into the future. It's about someone who sees something before the proof arrives, and they have to hold on to what they know for a while in a quiet room, until everyone else realizes what they saw. That's how your whole life has been. That's why you were early on a lot of things, and were made fun of for it. That's why you found the quiet instead of the crowd, and that's why no one ever told you for sure. This is because a seer is never given a second thought. So, chosen one, keep the door shut. Say it out loud. Hold on until the drop. The answer never came from outside the room. It's been inside with you the whole time, waiting for the noise to stop. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment, a place where divine abundance is not just a hope, but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary, where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits.